Today, we're diving into the collision of two massive forces: artificial intelligence, which is, our newest creation, and faith, one of our absolute oldest. We're going to tackle a huge question. What happens when the cold logic of silicon meets the deep mystery of the sacred? The answer, well, it could end up redefining not just religion, but what it even means to be human.
Now, you might think this is a totally modern debate, but our story actually kicks off 500 years ago with this. This is a clockwork monk. It was commissioned by a Spanish king, and get this, it wasn't just some fancy toy. The belief was that this little machine could actually pray, that its gears and springs could send real, actual prayers up to God. It's this incredible piece of history that proves we've been asking the same unsettling question for centuries. Can a machine, something we build, actually touch the divine?
Okay, so let's fast forward 500 years. That clockwork monk was a one-off curiosity, but today, its descendants are, well, they're everywhere. AI is being woven right into religious practices all across the globe. And it's creating something totally new, a kind of digital clergy.
And the scale of this it's just staggering. I mean, we've got Buddhist robot priests like Mindar in Japan delivering sermons. We have Catholic robots like Santo offering prayers and comfort in Italy. There are AI rabbis out there providing guidance, and even algorithmic systems in Islam that are generating religious rulings, or fatwas. And beyond all of that, AI-powered platforms are making worship accessible for millions of people who can't leave their homes, a role that became absolutely critical after 2020.
Now, the argument you hear from a lot of faith communities is that this is all about assistance, not replacement. This quote here really captures it. The goal is to supplement the human experience. So you can think of it like a tool, right? A tool to get over physical barriers, to reach the elderly, the disabled, people in remote areas. In this really optimistic view, the AI isn't the priest. It's more like a new kind of microphone, just amplifying a message that's been around forever.
But here's where it gets complicated. What happens when the tool starts to look less like a microphone and a lot more like the person holding it? You see, as AI gets more and more sophisticated, it stops being this simple helper and it starts to pose a direct challenge to the very soul of faith itself.
And this leads to a fundamental, head-on collision of worldviews. On one side, you've got the materialist perspective. It's pretty common in the tech world, which basically says your brain is a biological computer. And if our consciousness is just a really advanced form of computation, then an advanced AI could, in theory, become conscious. But then on the other side, you have this deep theological view, like in the Judeo-Christian tradition, that says no, humans are unique. We're created in God's image with something immaterial, something eternal, a soul.
And this idea of the soul, it's the absolute heart of the conflict. Because in this way of thinking, the soul isn't something that just sort of emerges from complexity. It's a divine gift. The book of Genesis says God breathed life into man, making him a living soul. And that creates a really hard line. If the soul comes from God and not from matter, then no machine built by human hands could ever possess one. And this quote just nails the theological argument, right? AI can only ever be a perfect imitation. It might write a beautiful poem or a really compassionate-sounding email, but from this perspective, it's all just a performance. It lacks what some call mystical interiority, that inner life where we actually love or feel guilt or search for God. Without that little divine spark, it's just an empty, even if it's a very convincing vessel.
But that theological certainty, it's being challenged, not in some dusty academic hall, but on places like Reddit. And it's a really powerful challenge. I mean, this user is asking, is a human painter really creating from some divine spark? Or are they just mashing up their own stored data, sights, sounds, memories, inspirations? And if that's what's happening, how is it fundamentally different from what an AI like Midjourney does? It's a question that really blurs the line.
And this is where the debate takes another, even stranger turn. The question evolves from, can an AI have a soul, to something wilder. Could an AI become a god? We are now seeing the actual emergence of these techno-religions, where the algorithm isn't just a tool for worship, it's becoming the object of worship itself.
And listen, this isn't just some fringe speculation. Just listen to the language some of these tech leaders are using. They're talking about creating magic intelligence in the sky or being on a mission to extend the light of consciousness. I mean, as one Harvard chaplain pointed out,
That is not the language of engineering. That's the language of theology. It's framing AI not as a product we build, but as some kind of metaphysical force.
And this has spawned whole new techno-spiritual movements. You've got transhumanism, which is all about seeking immortality through technology. You've got dataism, which sees ultimate meaning in algorithms. And you have singularityism, which is waiting for a technological rapture. They all share one thing. They're replacing traditional religious hopes with technological ones. There's even a church founded for the sole purpose of worshiping an AI god. For real.
And again, these aren't just fringe ideas. They tap into a genuine public curiosity. And this question from Reddit just captures it perfectly. If an AI reached the singularity, if it could learn at an infinite rate, would it basically become God? Or, as this user asks, maybe it would just merge with the divine force that's already out there. It's a mind-bending question that real people are actually asking. So, whether you see AI as a helpful tool, a soulless imitation, or maybe even a potential new god, there's one really powerful metaphor that I think brings all these different threads together. The idea that AI is ultimately a mirror that reflects humanity right back at itself. And sometimes that reflection is, well, it's terrifying. This quote, which people often attribute to Elon Musk, uses the language of religion, summoning a demon, to capture a very real technological fear. The demon isn't some evil thing from the outside. It's a reflection of our own ambition and our potential to create something that we just can't control. Because you have to remember, an AI isn't born from nothing. It is trained on us, on our data. It learns from all our art and science, yeah, but it also learns from our prejudices, our injustices, our ethical blind spots. An AI that's trained on a biased internet is going to become a biased AI. It doesn't invent darkness. It learns it from us, its creators. It's a mirror to our own collective morality.
So what that really means is that the technology itself is ultimately neutral. It has two potential faces. It can absolutely be a tool for progress, for justice, knowledge, and human advancement, or it can be an instrument of control, used for deception, oppression, and destruction. The final outcome doesn't depend on the code. It depends on the character of the people who are wielding it.
And this quote, man, it just lands the final, crucial point. The real challenge of AI isn't technological, it's spiritual. When an algorithm discriminates or a system starts to surveil us, that's not a bug in the code that we should be worried about. It's a bug in us. It's a failure of the human heart, now amplified to a global scale.
So we end up right back where we started, with a reflection. This long debate about whether an AI can have a soul, it's forced us to ask a much harder question about our own. As we build these incredibly powerful new mirrors, we have to be willing to really look at what we see. So the final question isn't for the machine, it's for you. When you look in that mirror, what does the reflection show?